Good evening and welcome to another edition of The Wright Experience. I'm Dr. William T. Wright Jr., the founder and host of this show. We are embarking on episode number 117 of this show. We've been doing this work since February 2021. We're excited to bring you yet another exciting episode. Our guest tonight is a dual profession individual. We'll say two. She actually does many things, but she is primarily a physician assistant, but she is also an ordained minister. We're looking forward to talking to her tonight about some amazing things that she does and is yet to do. Our guest tonight is Dr. Delina Davis Cooley. Delina Davis Cooley is a native of Oxon Hill, Maryland. She is a summa cum laude graduate of Livingstone College in North Carolina, where she received a BS degree in biology. She is also a Howard University graduate and a certified physician assistant. She has a master's degree from the University of Nebraska. Dr. Cooley recently completed a doctoral degree from Grace Bible College and Theological Seminary. She is also an ordained minister, and without hesitation will speak the word and live the word. She was also the founder of Emmanuel King's mentoring program, which is a dropout prevention program that has been in existence for more than 25 years. Dr. Cooley is a member of a Hosky Christian Center in North Carolina, where she is a minister, and she is also a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority. She's been married to her husband, Ernest Cooley Jr., for almost 34 years. They have two sons, Jalen and Jair, and one 5-year-old granddaughter, Camellia, who brings so much joy to the family. She has been a physician assistant since 1991 and is committed to serving her patients, community, and church with a spirit of excellence. And at this time, I'd like to welcome to the Wright Experience, Dr. Delina Davis Cooley. Welcome to the Wright Experience.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate you.
It's good to have you aboard, and we're going to get right into some questions very soon. I've been looking forward so very much to having you aboard the Wright Experience, and we finally got it done. So if you'll talk to us beginning, Dr. Cooley, about the work that you do as a physician assistant, and then also talk to us a little bit about what the differences are in the work that you do and that of, for lack of a better way of putting it, a fully certified medical doctor.
Yeah, sure. I've been working in an underserved area for the last 33 years. So I was working with the U.S. Public Health Service. Okay. Wanted to stay in the big city and wanted to stay in the Raleigh area, but God had another plan. They don't need me in the city. They need me in the country. So I came here in 1991, got a waiver to stay in the area because the Hollister office did not need a physician assistant at that time, but they needed somebody in Rich Square. The irony in all of this is, my mom was the first Black baby born in a Hosky hospital. Oh, and my mom used to always tell me, you'll be famous if you live there. I said, well, I don't want that kind of fame. I'll just stay in the city. And lo and behold, where does God send me? To a Hosky, North Carolina. So never say never. But I do, for 25 years, I actually worked with a community health service center. In a community health center, your focus is primarily on the population of patients who are uninsured or underinsured.
Okay.
And so did that for about 25 years, almost 25 years. And then now I'm working in a private practice.
And so what was unique in your mind about the work for underserved or underinsured people, as you said it?
Well, one of the things that I guess patients have always prouded me on, for lack of a better word, is it doesn't matter to me whether you have insurance or not. I'm more concerned about the totality of the person, the welfare of the being, the mental, physical, spiritual aspects of a person's life. So it really doesn't matter, because a lot of the patients are it's more about where we live, more so than the actual insured, uninsured thing. So I try to give the best care possible. To me, it doesn't matter what the insurance is. I'm more concerned about the individual.
And certainly that work has taken you to the rural community, and you're to be commended, because certainly coming from being a native of Oxon Hill, Maryland, which is certainly a little bit different than the country, I'll put it that way. You're to be commended for embarking in that work in the rural area. So thank you for that, for sure.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the commonalities that you see in medicine today that we as just ordinary citizens need to be looking out for?
Well, just to answer your other question that you had, what is the difference between a physician assistant and a medical doctor? Okay. We pretty much have very similar training. We do the same rotations. We get the same information. They just go more into the pathophysiology of things. So physician assistants were developed to help be an asset or an extension of medical care. Okay. And as you can imagine, none of the docs want to come to the rural areas either. And so there's no way of saying you're going to come to a rural area and think you're just going to be on easy street and see 10 patients a day. That's just not going to happen in a rural area. But because we need people and they need us to make sure that we're given 100% and to let them know that, hey, it doesn't matter where you come from, and that's a part of my biblical part of me is, he told us in the word, it doesn't matter where we come from. It only matters where you're going. He said, great is the end of a thing than the beginning. So we need to educate, and we need to just do the best to make sure we're taking care of all people from all walks of life.
And I know that you're really big on that educating yourselves and following what some people might consider to be simplistic ways to improve your health, things like drinking water and things of that nature. I know that's coming with some of my later questions, but we'll talk about that.
And I think that's one of the things that we have to remember is just the foundation. Okay. I think sometimes we forget about foundational principles and things that apply to our life, whether it's spiritually or physically. Rule 101, get a good night's rest, drink your proper water, make sure you're exercising, eating your fruits and vegetables, and I'm going to even go one step further. Make sure you start, Matthew 6:33 says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things must be added. So we have to incorporate the spiritual in with the physical. And if we forget about that, something's going to be lacking in our life. And God doesn't want us to have any lack. So I think we need to put first things first. We start our day off with Christ, with prayer, some meditation, a little water, your breakfast. Growing up, we always had supper as the largest meal of the day. And I think of many of us, it's hard to fathom that, hey, breakfast is supposed to be our largest meal of the day. But most people don't know that. And, it's hard to change something if you've done something all your life. But just getting a well-balanced meal, eating your meat, your starch, and your vegetable, limiting your beef, drinking more water, enjoying the turkey, fish, and chicken. Those are your healthy meats. And we don't want to, and we don't have to fry everything. Acquire a taste to enjoy something baked, or rotisserie. Just don't forget about those health. It's the little things. If we start with just making that initial change, it will make all the difference in the world. When you're setting goals set realistic goals. What is a realistic goal? Okay. All right. A realistic goal from somebody may be just to walk down the driveway and back one time. And if they can do that, hey, you've accomplished something. For somebody else, learning how to do one push-up, that may be an accomplishment. But God will meet you right where you are. So the key thing is to get started. Get started with these healthy lifestyle changes. Get started with developing a a prayer life or a reading your Bible life. Get started with trying to drink. If you can't drink 4 bottles of water, just start with 1 bottle for the day and set realistic goals for each week. You know, none of us are perfect, but we strive towards that perfection. We strive towards those goals in order to help and enhance and improve our life.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump right into that. You've kind of woven in some talk about a good Christian life. So let's talk about that. You are also an ordained minister. So let's talk about your work in ministry and how the two disciplines coincide, medicine and ministry. You know, some church folks tell you, well, you know, just pray to the Lord and He'll heal you. And then, you know, you are also a medical professional. So just talk to us about that. How do those two professions coincide?
Oh, I look at it as having the best of both worlds.
Okay.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't get a chance to minister as well as do the medical part. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what, you know, when COVID came about, you know, and you know, the media didn't always tell the truth about everything, but the increase in the mental health that happened after COVID, that was a reality. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough to earn my doctorate during that time, and had to do a refresher in mental health. Lo and behold, not noting I was going to be more the psychiatrist than the family provider during that time. But God makes all things true. You know, He said, you know, if you believe it's me, now is the time. Let's get it done. And got it done in time. And I needed that refresher because people needed that during that time, you know. And still now the effects of COVID, you know, the fear that's still going on, the anxiety that's still that lingers amongst us. You know, COVID never really died. It just slowed down. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we still take proper precautions. Some people still wear masks, you know, and that was a controversial issue for a long time. But my thought on that is there's still so many unknowns. So if you have that security or if you have a weakened immune system, make sure you wear the mask. I still believe when you go to the doctor's office, you get on an airplane or you're in a closed environment, you should have your mask on because we don't know. And especially if you're more susceptible to infection or anything like that, I think you should still take proper precautions. You still want to wash your hands and do those things. Again, for 2 years we wore masks. We really didn't even see the flu. Okay. But when we took the mask down, what happened? The flu numbers went just like this, you know, and now we're out of flu and RSV season and COVID has slowed down again. Again, it hasn't died. It just slowed down. So one of the things when you're dealing with a virus can mutate so many times. So the good thing is it seems like with COVID, with each mutation, the strain is getting weaker and weaker. So some people aren't getting as sick as they were in the beginning. So when you have pre-existing conditions like diabetes, obesity, hypertension, lung disease, cancer, those people were getting sicker in a higher or more, a disproportionate amount of people were dying if you had comorbid concerns. So you want to make sure you keep your diabetes under control if you're a diabetic, you know, and when you say, what is control? You know, we want everyone's A1C less than 7. Mm-hmm. So when the diabetes is out of control, you have a greater propensity to get more infections, delayed healings. It can just be a whole plethora of things that could happen just because the diabetes is not controlled, you know. So again, eating your fruits and vegetables. You know, years ago, we used to tell people as long as you ate 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables, you didn't have to worry about anything. But nobody's eating 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables. So now, as long as there's no contraindication, we recommend most of the times that everybody take a 1-a-day multivitamin. And if there's any doubt, make sure you ask your healthcare provider.
One wonderful advice. And I was going to talk a little bit about masking because in the last couple of trips, that I've taken, one in the United States, one out of the United States. I saw some people still masking, and to myself, I kind of said, do they know something that that the rest of us don't know, or things of that nature? Some people that are anti-maskers, if you will, and some people are still practicing that. So I think I hear you saying that it depends on conditions, but it also is not necessarily a bad thing to continue that practice in public. Is that
that is correct? That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
My beliefs may not always line up with the CDC, but I'm here in the real world, where I see it day in and day out. Where to me, if something is that controversial, I'd rather err on the side of caution than not. You understand? And that's just another, to me, that's another trick of the enemy. God tells us to have faith and believe and trust in him, but he also gives you common sense to say, okay, Lord, is this what I'm supposed to be doing during this season of my diet in my life? And then once he tells you what to do, just follow the peace. If you have a peace about going without wearing a mask, go for it. But if you got a peace about putting it on and keeping yourself safe, one of the things that I know just personally, there were times when I would see people and I know I just diagnosed them and they were positive. And you go to the store and they're in the store, they're doing this. Some people have a disregard for others. So if I'm sick, I don't care if you get sick, So why not? So when somebody asks me, why are you wearing your mask? Why not? I'm protecting myself and I'm protecting my family. But what is in, your conditions that you have, and the conditions that affect your family. And then we just govern ourselves accordingly.
Certainly makes a ton of sense there for sure. So let's shift gears a little bit. You and your husband both have done some amazing work with mentoring youth. I know that's a passion of yours. We've had conversations about that in the past. So in 2024, we know that there's some mental health challenges. There's all kinds of stuff that are challenging our youth. So let's take this platform to give Dr. Cooley an opportunity to give advice to some at-risk youth whose families might be listening to us at this point.
Well, one of the things I want to really encourage parents, first of all, because I think a lot of the problem rests and abide with the parents. So parents, I need you to be parents. You will have a lifetime ahead of you to be friends with your child. But right now, your goal is to be a parent. We have a fundamental right. God said it in his word, to train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he's old, he won't depart. But I think one of the things that's hurting our society in a huge way is the lack of parenting. And I need my parents to step up and be parents. You have more power than you think that you have. And one of the things that I can say that will get any child to do right is to just take this little thing right here away. So one of the things that I'll even learn as a parent myself is you can't reward bad behavior. God set the standard, and you have standards and values for your family and your home, and just don't veer to the left or to the right. But God already set the standard. Have those values. And I think that's something that's lacking in our youth for today. But the standard has been set, and I need my parents to stand up and be parents. And then to my young people out there, if there's any young person listening, you can make it. It's okay to be different. I gave my life to Christ when I was 14 years old. And no, that doesn't mean I've done everything right since I was 14. But I had a conviction. I had the Holy Spirit that will live in you, will help guide you to all truth and understanding. I didn't mind being alone. one of the things my dad taught me years ago was, he said, if you have one good friend, value that one relationship. And if you're fortunate enough to have 2 or 3, you're doubly, triply blessed. But you don't have to be among the masses to be accepted. Don't discount yourself or sell your soul to the devil, because you can make it and you can do it. You can be successful. You can be whatever you want to be. The sky is the limit. You just got to have focus and determination, and mix that with a little bit of faith, and that's a wrap right there. And parents, I just can't stress enough, be parents. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's okay to give a curfew. Okay, it's okay to give a punishment. It's okay to take the cell phone. Okay, don't reward bad behavior.
How do you think we got to that point where parents stop being parents in some households?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Yeah. I think, again, social media, I think television, there's so many negative things that's kind of just desensitized us to the truth. So you have a whole generation that does not know truth. We've had people in major roles that got us laughing at untruth, mm-hmm. got us laughing at lies, deception, deceit. And now guess what? We have a generation that does not know the difference between right and wrong. Whereas when we were younger, there was always a difference between right and wrong. We did have some good, and I may not need to even go here, but I'm going to go here. But politicians, there was always one politician that was more superior than another. Nowadays, it seems like we just got to vote for the lesser of two evils. Who lines up most with our values? And we got to literally make a list and just say, okay, who's closest to what I believe? And then we have to vote our values, because we're not going to see anybody that's going to line up with everything. So that's just another example. And I think the spiritual decline in the world, mm-hmm. People just trying to prove that everything God said is not right. We're living in this world that it's your thing, do what you want to do. But I'm here to tell you, it's not your thing and you can't do what you want to do. God has set the standard and we have to do that. Just like there are standard of care guidelines for diabetes, high blood pressure, asthma, obesity, and the list can go on and on and on. A standard has been set. And we have to have the faith to step out and do what God tells us to do, and to do what your healthcare provider tell you to do. It's okay. We do something now in healthcare called shared medical decision making. Uh-huh. I can't make a grown person do anything. My job is to give you enough information to make an informed decision and prescribe the right medicine. And we have to partnership. Just like we partnership with our healthcare provider, we got a partnership with the anointing of God, because God has a great thing and a plan and a purpose for each and every one of our lives. And we're living substandard. We're living beneath how God called us to be the kings and queens of the earth. We believe the lie of the devil that we're nothing. We believe the lie. And when you believe the lie, you live the lie. And God said, look, he said, I come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. God wants us to walk and live in that abundant life. But we're not living and walking in it because I think many of us, we don't believe it, because we got away from the foundational principles of what God said in his word. You even look at education now. I can remember before my youngest son got out of school, mm-hmm. they were bringing in this knowledge of talking about what is the most right question. Come on now. Help us, God, help us. 2 + 2 is 4. There is no, it can't be 5. That is not the most right answer. 2 + 2 = 4. because when we start to twist the truth, the enemy will come in and steal every time. Whether it's in our homes, it's in our churches, it's on our jobs, we have to stand for truth. God already set the standard. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Amen. All right. Get me preaching now.
but what amazing insight. We've gotten away from it. It's an erosion of moral fabric, if I were to use layman's terms, but you're spot on with the fact that we seem to have gotten away from the truth and facts, and I'd never really thought about it, but I'm going to borrow that about the whole educational factors change. You know, like you said, 10, 12 years ago when we started coming up with which answer is most like the answer rather than just is it right or wrong. So absolutely. Thank you for that insight. Let's talk about this one for a minute. Kind of as an overarching thing, if you will. This world continues to evolve and be what it is, and we all have to live and survive in it. How do we best continue to take care of our health? And you've already spoken to some things, but what are some necessary components? If you're outlining an overarching vision for folks to take care of themselves mentally as well as physically, what would be a checklist of things, if you will, that we must consider?
I think the first and foremost thing is we have to get spiritually clean.
Okay.
You know? Okay. And when I say that, if you've been doing wrong, just ask God to forgive you and ask him to come into your life and ask him for wisdom. Wisdom on how to take care of yourself. You know, we got to learn how to de-stress. Stress is what's killing folk. Yeah, you may have high blood pressure and diabetes, but if you put stress on top of that, man, stress is killing. We got to learn. He said, take all your burdens and leave them at the altar. He said, or give them to me. He said, all you that are burdened and heavy laden. If that yoke is tight on you, we got to learn how to give things to God. You know, when we do that, we can get rest. We can get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. You know, we don't have to worry about it. We can get that clean sleep. You know, if you're snoring and still feeling tired when you get up, go get checked for sleep apnea. You know, sleep apnea people are greater risk for blood pressure being out of control, developing cancer, heart failure, and a whole long list of things. So if your loved one is snoring a lot, go get it checked out. If you're overweight, be intentional about losing weight. Be intentional about making healthy food choices. You know, I personally just did an overhaul in my own life and did not realize how much sugar was just really killing me. And it was just keeping the pounds on. You know, I wish I could tell you that I never drank a soda, but coming up, I only drank milk, water, and juice. Now, why in the world, when I get to be adult, I start drinking a soda, I do not know. But to God be the glory. Since August, I have not had a Mountain Dew and doing well and proud of it. I'm not the cookie monster anymore, you know. So take control of your health. Make healthy food choices. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Drink more water. Be intentional about walking. If you don't like to walk and you know how to dance, dance for 30 minutes a day. You know, I lost 15 pounds learning how to dance and enjoyed it and had fun doing it. So, but I think just being wholesome is mind, body, and spirit. It's the whole totality of the building. You know, taking those deep cleansing breaths, breathing in and out, practicing mindfulness. You know, be mindful of your situation and how you can improve. Staying connected to your power source, which is God. You know, we put everything before God. You know, you start reading the Bible and you fall asleep. So that's why he says seek him first. So if you fall asleep first thing in the morning reading the word, something wrong with you. You really need to talk to your healthcare provider. But those are the foundational things.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of the stress, eat right. If you're taking medication, take medication. I heard a pastor say the other day, and I say this often, but it was just nice to hear somebody say it on national television. God's not going to perform a miracle in everybody. Sometimes the miracle is the surgery, or the miracle is taking the medicine, or the miracle. So to my believers out there, if your healthcare provider said you need a medicine, don't think you don't have to take it just because you're a Christian, because Christians take medicine too. Luke was a physician in the Bible. So I think those are the main things: de-stress, eat right, exercise, get a good night's rest, and first and foremost, get connected to God if you're not connected.
Don't you think that is a lesson that needs to be more prevalent in some of our churches, though, that it is okay to be a Christian, a believer, and still go to the doctor and take medicine and things of that nature? I think sometimes we miss that one.
I agree.
We've even said that there's even been conversation that God made doctors too. You're a living witness of that. So I just don't. I think that conversation needs to certainly be more prevalent, because while we can pray some things away, there also needs to be following of medical doctor's advice. Pick the right one, and then follow the advice in them. And that shared, you called it shared medical
decision making.
Shared decision making. There you go. That's so very important. And thank you for that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Because ultimately, the thing we have to remember, we don't get to choose how God heals us.
Sure.
So sometimes it's just like the woman with the issue of blood. Her faith was so strong that what she really needed was a touch with Jesus at that time. She had already been to all the doctors and all those things. But in the same token, when Jesus healed the blind man, he said, put the mud on your eyes. It was a process.
Right.
And then he told him to go wash. So it's kind of similar to what we do in healthcare. We may tell you, okay, if you drop 15 pounds, then you won't need this medicine. Right. That's the reality of it. But don't try to do it on your own.
Okay? There you go.
And parents, if you need help with your child, don't try to reach out. I made a declaration several years ago that I will never suffer in silence again. So if something is bothering me, or I'm losing sleep, and I don't lose any sleep anymore, to God be the glory. Wasn't always like that, but I've learned not to suffer in silence. If something is bothering me, I'm going to reach out and talk to someone. Okay. And your parents, you're not alone. Young people, you're not alone. There are some children out here, other kids that's trying to do the right thing that comes from good homes. They may be few and far between, but you be that one. You be that light. One of the things, birds, eagles soar alone sometimes. They're not always with somebody else. So understand your role. And it goes right back to that Jeremiah 29:11. God, he said, his thoughts are not my thoughts. He said he has a plan and a purpose for your life. And just understand, when you walk in your plan and your purpose, it's okay. It's just like me. I'm a physician assistant, but there are not many MDs out here that are better than me. It's not because I can say that because I'm all that, but it's because I know what God has done in my life. I understand my strengths, I understand my limitations. I know when to keep somebody in, and I know when to refer. So that's another part of answering the question, what else can you do? Understand your strengths and your weaknesses, and know when to ask for help.
What amazing advice and words for us to live by as we're navigating current life. Thank you so much for that. Did I miss anything that you would like to share with our audience at this time?
I think you touched on just about everything. And the only other thing is, so much is given, God is much is required.
Absolutely.
So if God has gifted you with something, don't be afraid to share your gifts with others. Dr. Wright touched on my husband and I doing a mentoring ministry for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And young people need us. God didn't give you long life for you. Reach out and touch a child's life. Now, if they don't receive you, then that's another thing. But I want my adults, don't give up on our children. Don't give up on this generation. Grandmas and great grandmas and granddaddies and everybody out here, neighborhoods, that years ago, we lived on that principle. It takes a village to raise a child. And I just want to encourage you, hey, we are still in the village. Let's not let the devil have our children. Let's not let him have our communities, our churches, our homes. Let's go back to the foundation, 101, beginning with prayer and then setting the example, creating your family values, and parents, be parents. Understand your role.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. If you'll just hold on for me for a minute, we'll come back and close out the show. As you can see, once again, we have had another amazing guest on our show. We are so excited about the work that Dr. Cooley has done in the past and continues to do, both in both of her major professions, as a physician's assistant and also as a minister. And as you see, she weaves each of her professions into conversation on a daily basis, all about helping us get better every day. That was the promise of the show when we started, and we're going to continue to bring you content that helps us all get better. Dr. Cooley, thank you so much. It has been a blessing to have you aboard the Wright Experience. This platform is open. Anytime you want to come back and be a part of this, we'll certainly count you in our list of medical and ministerial experts. So as we have topics that come up, we may be reaching back out to you to help us continue with this work.
Thank you.
And to the Wright Experience audience, good evening.